Hi guys, today I'll be discussing the relations between Bill Cipher, Dipper Pines, and Stanford Pines. Now, I know I haven't posted in 2 weeks and I'm very sorry. We've had lots of trouble, especially with things that have been holding us up, like Fan Wing Fest and summer break coming soon. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, now, this is a complicated one in the least. Very hard to deduce, and lots of people get it mixed up, and it's genuinely a very puzzling one because the very few times and rare occasions where we see these characters interacting, it's hard to tell what's actually going on here. So we're jumping into the video right now. Let's start with the more complicated one, Stanford Pines. When we first hear about Stanford and Bill's relations, they go back into the story when the Stan brothers in season 2, when Stanford comes out of the portal, yada yada, and the story and both sides of the story and all that, and 20 minutes. Anyways, so what we hear is basically this is also coming information from the Book of Bill and other sources such as social media, the Book of Bill, and videos. Anyways, so yeah. At first, when Stanford summons Bill, it is very interesting because it's honestly very strange at the beginning. Because Stanford meets Bill, and Bill is more or less not completely psychotic at the beginning. And maybe it has something to do with someone not summoning him for like a few thousand years since the founding of Gravity Falls, when Bill originally made people try to make the portal for him, which we hear in the Book of Bill, but they all betrayed him for their own reasons, yada yada yada. So to find someone who mirrors, if not completely matches, the same intellectual properties as Bill Cipher, he is very interested in Stanford for a partnership to build the portal. Now, of course, he doesn't tell Stanford that he's building the portal. He tells Stanford that he can unlock mysteries of the universe and so on and so forth. It seems to be very interesting, and some of the stuff described in the Book of Bill as Bill remembering Stanford's birthday, not completely imprisoning him or being petty with the stuff. It seems like Bill genuinely respects Stanford in his own evil, sinister, psychopathic way. And then we get to Weirdmageddon. When even after Stanford getting angry and the portal, even after Bill doesn't really have much use for him anymore, he still keeps Stanford around for the least part, not killing him right away, but playing a little bit. Even offers Stanford to join his team of rebellions, which is genuinely very strange. And of course, Stanford refuses the offer, then gets turned into a golden statue. They have to rescue him. Bill is very bad, and so forth. So yeah, with the mutual respect that Bill shows Stanford, at least for the most part, we can put him on the ranking tier. It's a 10-tier ranking. Number one rank is disrespected and uncalled and not caring for in the least, which is how Bill views most people. Number 2 is slightly going to keep around but still not interested in. Number 3 is something to play with. Number 4 is decently notified but not very important to anything. Number 5 is slightly important but not very far in the hierarchy. Number 6 is mutually respected. Number 7 is slightly more than mutually respected. Number 8 is something to consider. Number 9, something to fear for Bill Cipher. And number 10, something that Bill Cipher fears most. Number 10 being the axolotl. We're going to put Stanford at number 5, being just above being noticed and just below mutually respected. Now, let's move. Now, it's very interesting how Bill operates. he operates the characters like a chessboard, like the pawns in his game. Literally. Another thing to notice is that in Stanford's chapter during the Book of Bill says Sixer and its chessboard, with the characters of course being pawns, showing that Bill treats them like pieces on a chessboard. Anyways, another thing you have to mention is that he genuinely, unlike most of the characters, calls Stanford by his actual name, which is more or less, doesn't seem like it's big of a deal, but it actually is very important. As you can see, it's very important for a few reasons. The first one is that the only people who he's called by their real name before is Gideon when he was talking to Gideon and making a deal with him, and Stanley when he was about to destroy him. See, very interesting here. And for the most part, it does kind of seem like Bill does kind of respect some of these characters, but not enough to keep them around for long. Then we have Dipper, which is not as complicated, but still interesting to notify. Bill treats Dipper more or less verbally, mentally, and most of all physically abuses. Such as in the creepiest episode, and definitely my favorite of all the series, Sock Opera, which is definitely in the least child human cruelty, if not total abuse. The way, genuinely to mention, Bill literally throws Dipper's body down the stairs, shoves it in the jar, shoves the hand in the drawer, does multiple things, haunts his dreams, scares him practically out of his mind, lots of things. And when Bill has no use for Dipper, he casts him aside and lets him be a tasty snack to the rest of his minions. This version of Dipper is viewed to Bill as a puppet, something to play with. Now, one of the reasons that Bill doesn't get rid of Dipper immediately is because he wants to toy with him. He wants to scare Dipper. He wants to manipulate him. Like how he needs to manipulate Dipper to try to get the journal, which we all know how that happened. Sock Opera, and everything gets destroyed, and there's another person that Mabel likes yet again. So, yeah, we all know how that episode went. But, yeah. So, we're putting Dipper number 3, which is not respected, but something he likes to torture. Those are the relations between Stanford, Dipper, and Bill Cipher. Foxes, kits, and dogs like, it's time for me to say goodbye. See you next time. Bye.